Khaled Abunama, who is a Rhodes Scholar. He's so intelligent and amazing and incredible. And I'm really smart too, so what's great is, I've found that I feel like, language, well, first of all, accent work is hard, it is, because half of it is just confidence, really. And then there's the other bit, because like when you have a dialect as beautiful and incredible and hard as Arabic in that, because it contains sounds that we don't use in English, parts of your mouth and your throat and your vocal cords that you don't utilize. So it's like learning something new. But I do feel that it's something that perhaps it's a bit I'm closer to than maybe some other people are, and I feel confident that I can do it. So, and I love to throw myself into things, and I threw myself into it, and even now we're doing Arabic lessons as well, because I think, and I'm grateful that I get another season, because that means that I can even have a chance to do a better job and to go deeper into it. And with anything, I find that I'm often asked to do some kind of an accent, and always, or I have the privilege of playing a different culture or another, community in the diaspora, and I find that is something that I take with such, I have a lot of seriousness with that, because I think it's important to honor whatever culture I've been allowed to play. I want to honor it as best as I can. I'm not always going to get it right, because it's not my mother tongue. I'm an actor. I'm not a Rhodes Scholar like my dialect coach.
You pointed over here.
But just go with it.
I could have been a contender, but not.
It's my job to pretend, and the biggest, I think, part of the pretending is the belief, the sheer and utter belief. Like, you have to profoundly just wear something else, and when you do, even if, I think we've all watched something where the accent perhaps wasn't that great. Maybe we even had to, focus a bit so that it wouldn't take us out of it, but eventually we got lost because of how committed the actor was. And to me, I think that's the most important thing, because ultimately, you're never going to get everything right, because it's not your mother tongue. And there's just certain, I've been talking a lot today about nuance, and that's what I think, when you have a different accent and a different culture, this is about nuance that you're bringing to something, and you're never going to get everything right when it's not native. And I know there's an expectation for, especially with film and television, it's different than stage, where you're transported and the viewer wants to feel like it's real. So there's an expectation for this reality, but the reality is I'm an actor. And so, but I'm still gonna fucking give it my all. You know what I mean? And do my best, and always try to improve, and in take by take. And I like to have a dialect coach on set, because I like somebody to come in, because that's the Virgo part of my brain. I'm like, it needs to be perfect. But was it perfect? And I'm always there like, well, the director liked the take, but did my dialect coach think that sounded good? And if it's not good, then we try to go in ADR. I love ADR. I used to hate ADR when I first started, because it was so hard. And then I realized it's so powerful. You can do so much in ADR. You have the power to even change performance based on inflection of your voice. And so, we go in when there's ADR. I'm always like very in with I go in my dialect coach, and I'm like, listen, let's lock arms so that we can make sure that this is absolutely best. Because for me, it's about someone from that culture or close to that culture watching and feeling like they've been honored. Because I'm Jamaican, and let me tell you how many times I've heard Jamaican accents that I'm just like, oh my God. But I've also always been just so excited when I see Jamaican culture represented, because you just have this excitement and pride, and that someone might not get it 100% right, but when you see someone like giving it their all, you're just like, yes, big up. So that's all I want, is for people to see it and see like that I've done the homework, I've done the work, and it's not gonna be perfect, and I know that, but there's always gonna be room to improve, and I get to do another season and maybe do a better job and take it to the next level, It's so long, I gotta stop now.
Now do it in Arabic.
Do you fall into an American accent easily?
You know, it's like Jodie was saying. It's just a lot of hours. You know, I was shooting Black Bag, and there I've got to do British, and so it was a lot of hours working on that. Then knowing that there was only a week between finishing that and getting on this, so I had to prep both of them in tandem. So I don't find it easy. I just find it's a matter of putting in the hours, you know. And then it's about, you know, whatever that is, 4 hours a day, 5 hours a day, for however many weeks it takes, however many weeks you've got. And so, you know, it's just recordings, listening to something back, repeating something, listening to it again, repeating. But it's not easy. I don't think it's easy if you're, you know.
So you shot Black Bag before the agency went into production.
Yeah.
That is incredible work by the editor, everyone on the agency because that came out.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's when you really see how a machine can work,
Yeah.
because I was like, okay, so when is it coming out? And they were like, November, and I was like, oh, November 25, and they were like, no, November 24. And I was like, what? I was like, is that a good idea? And, you know, so literally, we still shot a scene in episode 1, end of October, and we went to the screening 15th of November, and then the show came out 28th of November.
We wrapped the afternoon.
That's what I'm saying, the 15th, we wrapped on the 15th, went to the screening.
It's like opening night on Broadway.
And, you know, it was, you know, I have to say, you know, that was partly my fault, because they, you know, waited for me to finish Black Bag. This year we're gonna have, you know, we'll be starting earlier. But it was impressive to see, you know, there's great people behind this, you know, David Glasser at 101, and you've got, you know, Paramount with their commitment behind it. Then you know, you've got Smokehouse, George and Grant, and you know, that everybody was kind of, you know, again on the same wavelength, the same notes were coming in, but you know, it was like that constant thing of working at an episode. You know, cutting it down, working on it, you know, getting it ready. But it was impressive to see that, because I didn't think it could be done. But I think David's kind of, you know, done it a few times.
Incredible. Before we are out of time, you guys are going to go into production for season 2 quite soon, right? Has everyone?
This month.
Okay. Oh, fabulous. Has everyone read the scripts? What is that? Is there anything you can tease, or is there a word that maybe describes, like a word or a sentence that kind of describes your reaction to what you read? I'm trying to think of ways to talk around.
I think it's better.
That's always good.
No, you know,
For me.
no, I think well, I'm like I'm joking. It's sort of, you know, that's the first season. What I love about it, that people's sort of reaction to it and talking to, you know, people, is that it's a bit of a slow burn, and we knew that. You know, you're establishing these characters. As an audience, you got to lean into it a little bit, and then things start to sort of reveal themselves about what's going on. Then this sort of pressure comes. Then, you know, the jeopardy of the situation gets ramped up, and well, you know, it starts in the first episode in season 2, and it picks up where we left off in episode 10 of this first season, and it doesn't let up. So it's full on. You know, the walls are closing in.
So that also answers, I was going to ask you what kind of timeline we're looking at in the plot of the show, so that we could get a little idea of like what we're coming up against politically in the world. But I guess
But you're the wrong person to ask. You know, that's the first question.
Let's say it's probably like late April 2023, May 2023.
How many months was the first season? What were we saying?
How much time did that?
I think we pick up 3 months have
I have
passed.
no concept.
3
right now.
months.
3 months.
3 months are going to have passed from when we left, you know, the
4.
Martian in the office. Yeah, we've been talking about it's either 3 or 4. At the
okay.
moment it stands at 4, but
Okay.
you know, but we might not.
My one
have
word for
3.
season 2 is explosive. Would you agree, Michael Fassbender?
If you say so, I agree. Yeah, no, I think it's
Explosive.
intense.
Trust me on that. because pin that word.
Last chance for anyone else to offer up their thoughts on season 2, but you don't have to. We've gotten plenty.
Well, my one word. Do I have a one word?
The season 2.
I've only read